Welcome to Netflix Weekly. We've now officially changed our name to Netflix Weekly because saying Netflix was too hard to stutter out. I am Rob, and with me as always is Phil. Hello, Phil.
I am NetflixWeekly.com's co-host, Phil.
Huzzah. All right. For me, I do have an honorable mention. That's not The Strain. I'm almost on The Strain, and so far it's been, I'd say, a solid 6 out of 10. Not amazingly great, but fun.
I liked it.
But my honorable mention is a fucking devastatingly bad show on CBS All Access, and I'm one of those guys, I dare anyone to show me a show on CBS All Access that's been good, but that's a whole other conversation.
Discovery, I love it.
Yes. Oh, and Picard. And
I love those. Shut up.
Oh, no, but no. So I'm a humongous Stephen King fan. Love Stephen King. Been reading him forever.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Yeah, and one of my favorite books by him is The Stand. And I remember my sister, actually a boyfriend of my sister, when I was way too young to read it, gave me the original copy of The Stand, the shorter 700-page version. And then I actually bought it at the store when it came out. I was like, maybe 13. The complete and uncut edition, which actually doesn't add that much to the story, but it was cool to read the book again. I'm a big puzzle nerd. I love making puzzles, and during puzzles, I usually listen to audiobooks, so I listen to The Stand on audiobook. It's a fantastically good story.
Sorry, what does puzzles have to do with anything?
Whenever I'm listening to, whenever I'm working on my puzzles, I listen to audiobooks.
Oh, okay. I was confused. I was like, I love puzzles. It's like The Stand puzzle came out. I have no clue. Is that what you're going to rant about?
Maybe I had a stroke and I didn't say the part about listening to audiobooks. But yes, I listen to audiobooks, and I listen to The Stand and love it. It's a great book. It's Stephen King at his coke-fueled finest. Stephen King in these 70s and 80s was awesome because he was just driven by cocaine. And this...
I thought you were talking about Coca-Cola. I was like, I get that.
Oh, exactly. That's why he has such bad teeth and not living as an addict every day since like 1995. But no, this version of The Stand on CBS is awful. And I say that with a very heavy heart because I wanted it to be so fucking good, man.
Me too.
Yeah, really.
To be fair, I've only seen, I think, 2 episodes.
And I think for me, maybe the average viewer, like my wife, she doesn't recall reading the book. She doesn't think she ever read it. So she's not fine with it, but she doesn't have the same kind of anger I do towards characters that I think should be different. I had the same problem, not with as many characters, but with similar characters when I watched the first one. The Stand in 1994.
The miniseries.
The miniseries, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so wrong.
By the way, that was god awful. Didn't what's her name from Sister Act?
Whoopi Goldberg. No, she's in the new one. Yeah, she plays Mother Abigail.
Oh, she's in the new one. Okay, she's not in the old one?
No, she's not in the old one.
Okay.
At least I'm fairly certain she's
My brain wants to think she was, but maybe it was someone else.
She, as Mother Abigail, I'd argue, the best part of the new one. Every other actor is wrong. The only actor, actually, that's not true. Sorry. The only other actor that I'm just loving is Greg Kinnear as his character, Glenn. Glenn's great, and he's a great character in the book, but every other character they get horribly wrong. And the one that they got wrong, like horrible, at least in my opinion, and again, totally only my opinion, you might think totally otherwise, is this character called the Trash Can Man.
I've only seen 2 episodes, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah. When you see the Trash Can Man, don't. It's hard. Like, I wait until the miniseries is done, and then maybe go. There was a fantastic set of graphic novels about The Stand. They were awesome. They were so goddamn good. The book is really, really good, but the way that Ezra Miller portrays the Trash Can Man for me is just so incredibly wrong for where this character goes in the story. Same with Skarsgård as Randall Flagg does not work. Same as I don't know the guy's name. He's a great actor, but the guy playing Harold Lauder, does not work at all.
So what character is the main character who was a geek at first? And
that's Harold, and him and Franny take off because they're gonna, and he really cares about Franny, really loves Franny.
I find Harold to be like an awesome character because it makes me like feel like he's like really creepy and yeah.
And yet the actor does a great job. But if you were to, I'd say if once this is over, and everybody, we can actually all go outside again, and we go to the Nexus, which is a great comic book store in Kingston. I know I've seen The Stand, the graphic novel there, the comic book graphic novel. It's great, and the way that Harold looks in that, he's always been a very descriptive writer, and he describes Harold very exactly. And the way that Harold looks in that comic is how I really thought of him. He's a bigger dude. He's kind of overweight. He's got these huge glasses, and he's got King describes him as being a very not pudgy, but a very almost built like a football player that was never a football player. Not muscular, but just a big, large guy. Because he's very intimidating. And Flagg uses Harold for exactly that, because he knows Harold can be a little bit intimidating. And I don't see that with the actor that's currently playing him.
Oh no, that's definitely different. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes me upset. It's the same way that watching the Dark Tower movie made me upset. The 20 minutes I could stand of it that I had to walk away because it was so bad.
Oh, I started watching that and I was like, eh.
And what's bad is, man, the Dark Tower book, that's definitely King's magnum opus. Like, that is some of the best writing over a span of 35, 40 years that he wrote that entire story. It's amazing. And to try to put that into one movie is impossible. And it feels The Stand is kind of the same. There's a lot of stuff being cut out that I was like, oh man, it's a bummer we don't see the kid, and we don't know how Trash Can Man got to Las Vegas, and all this stuff that you missed out on that really builds the book. So as my honorable mention, I know I've gone on way too long about it. The Stand is very subpar, and I was nervous that maybe it was just me, so I went looking at Twitter at some people's reactions on Twitter, and I'm glad to see that for a lot of hardcore Stephen King fans, they're saying the same thing, that it's just not up to par where it should be.
This is unfortunately what's happening when all these companies, we're still in infancy of it, but all these companies have their own streaming services, and then they put money into making things for it. And then what comes of it? Subpar things that should be a little bit higher up.
Especially when they're trying to get names. I know Apple TV got Spielberg, and one of the people, big, things that they put out for Apple TV Plus, Steven Spielberg's redoing Amazing Stories, and Oprah Winfrey's getting her own show. And I loved Amazing Stories when I was younger, and I tried this remade version, and I'm just, this just isn't for me. And maybe maybe other people love it, but for me, I'm just this feels like they're trying to push that nostalgia, but trying to make it something different too. And I think I brought this up before, that I don't like when stuff feels like it's being sold to me. There's one thing you can do, and luckily so far Netflix, I've never seen it, when they try, when a show or a movie is trying to sell me a product, I think everybody, your brain really sees it, and for me, it just takes me right out of the experience. And a lot of newer shows, especially with Amazing Stories, I felt like that's what it was doing.
No, that they see what Netflix has done in terms of building a huge library, putting a lot of money into it, and then not relying so much on movies that they have to pay for. Mm-hmm. So as long as they keep building their Netflix library, they're going to be making bank, and they're making bank. So all these other companies are seeing that and trying to follow that, and it's going to take probably just as long for them to catch up.
Well, I think it's also the cardinal mistake, and this will be the last time I bring it up. Then we'll actually get into maybe some Netflix stuff, but it's the DC versus Marvel thing. I'm not a Marvel fanboy. I'm certainly not a DC fanboy, but Marvel definitely did it right. You know what I mean? They took 10 years to build up their cinematic universe, and DC tried to get it done in 3 or 4.
I think it was 5 that the plan was, but it was not smart.
Yeah, but I think it's a real argument for the fact that if you're going to grow something for people to care about it and to be invested in it. It has to be organic. It's not something you can force. And I feel like, yeah, you're right on hitting the nail on the head with a lot of these streaming services. They're trying to build this huge library, get you to care about everything, but you're going to find those little, gems like you do with Netflix. You're going to find those little gems here and there, and they're going to be what you like. You know what I mean? It's not, oh my God, this is great. I love this immediately,
Yeah, Disney is doing it right in terms of taking their time, but also it's annoying that there's not a lot of new content on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like I won't put my money into Disney Plus. Like I do from time to time for pretty much Alexander, my son.
Mm-hmm.
But all that's coming out that's new is the odd thing. Like maybe like WandaVision is current, and what else? There's like Soul and maybe 2 other things for this month. Like it's not enough. All right, Netflix.
All right, general Netflix. What I've been watching on Netflix, I've been watching. Oh crap! All right, you go first because I just brain farted and totally forgot what it was called.
Pretty much just Dark.
Oh really? Oh, how far are you into Dark now?
I don't know. I think I'm in the middle of the 3rd season. Yeah, so what you said was true.
Yep.
It did blow my mind when they went in the direction they went at the starting of 3rd season or the end of 2nd season.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all.
That's just like, oh, you need new material, but you haven't totally sewn all the other oats. Like,
yeah, it was, but I liked it. It was good, but yeah, it was surprising.
And the 4th season, we're going to go to San Francisco, like
in the 1970s,
on Jupiter. So. It's a great show though. Like if anyone's still on the what's the word, on the wall, on the edge,
fence.
On the fence. That's it. Thank you. If
that's
anyone's still on the fence,
we're here to finish each other's, figure out the words the other person can't think of.
Yeah.
Sandwiches.
So yes, it's a great show. Go watch it. Be prepared to be depressed the whole time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me on Netflix, I've been watching, for some reason, a lot of Jeopardy. Just going back and, now that Alex Trebek is dead, I love going back and watching Alex Trebek.
That's a good way to put
it. Yeah, exactly. I only want to watch him when he's dead. I don't care when he was alive.
Now, I'm going to watch Saved by the Bell this week.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because of Dustin died. That's a bummer. You know what? I'm not going to say that guy was my favorite in anything. I honestly forgot he existed. I never watched the show Saved by the Bell. But anybody who dies of something like cancer or something like that, that's terrible. And I always feel bad when people die of shit like that.
At the end of the day, he did a great character. It worked. People loved it. And like, be happy, celebrate what good he did.
Yep. I mean, he might have done some weird shit afterwards, but yeah, he did bring a great character to life. But yeah, for Netflix, I've been considering watching Disenchantment, but yeah, I still haven't pulled the trigger on that. I might. I saw it come up, and it started. You know how Netflix starts up like the 30 seconds or a minute of one of the episodes of the show when you finish something. I could just finish Bird Box this morning, and I was watching a little bit of Disenchantment. I'm like, this seems funny, and I like that Richard Ayoade is in it. Richard Ayoade, Jesus, that guy's got a weird name. I think he's great, so I might watch just based on that.
Yeah, I plan to watch what we're planning to watch next week, which will come up after we do our feature.
Yep. All right, so on to our feature, one of which I know we had discussed last week that we were going to watch Trials of Chicago 7. Again, I had to disappear on Saturday. I spent about 5 hours in a car, which was a lot of fun. And surprising to some, the first thing that you think of once you've been in a car for 5 hours is not, hey, I'm going to sit there. Oh, and then spending the time sitting down to work on a computer and then getting back into a car for 2 hours. The first thing you do when you get home is not, hey, you know what I want to do? Sit in a chair again and watch a movie that's 2.5 hours long. So I did not get a chance to watch Trial of the Chicago 7.
But we are going to postpone it till next week to go with our other feature. So this week we're going to focus on Bird Box.
Bird Box, yay! So, as we discussed before, Phil had already seen this movie. I had not seen it, but I think even since the first episode, we had discussed, hey, what about Bird? And I had made some stupid comment about Bird Box.
You kept making comments.
It's like, for a guy who's never seen the fucking movie, he seemed to make a lot of comments about Bird Box. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to watch Bird Box. So I sat down. I always wake up super early. I woke up around 5:30 in the morning today, came down here, and started watching Bird Box.
You wanted to be awake.
Well, you know what? I was worried that I'd fall asleep because I was anticipating this movie to be very boring. Now, I'm not going to say it's a great movie, but I will say if I had to put it on a rating out of 10, I would give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. It wasn't great, but there were two moments in the movie that I actually wrote down in my notes. There were two moments that I'm like, this is all right. This part is appropriately spooky. That I did like a lot.
But before we get to those, we're going to go through your notes, right?
Yep.
But the Rotten Tomatoes score for the tomato meter, the critics meter, they got about 64%. And the audience actually rated it lower at 57.
Oh, wow. No, I'd go a bit higher than what the critics are. 64 seems about right, but I'd go a bit higher for that just for honestly, for one part in the movie that I was like, all right, that's pretty good. That I enjoyed. But all right.
Kick it off.
Out of the gate, I wrote that, and I'll try to read my notes as verbatim because what I did differently this time was I did speech to text into my phone to record my notes. So first thing I wrote down was the girl and the boy's names are girl and boy. Ugh. Because I was like, why would you just call them girl and boy? That's already setting me up to dislike the people that are going to care for these children. Just give them fucking names. Of course, I understood that the reason they're girl and boys so we can give them a name at the end of the movie that's very emotionally relevant, blah, 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 blah. But still, seeing them be called girl and boy were kind of dumb. Also, I do not like the actress, Sarah Paulson. And the reason I don't like this actress is every single role that she is in, she is the exact same person. And this movie was no different.
Was this the friend?
Yeah, that was her sister.
Oh, the sister, yeah.
Sister.
You're right.
Yeah, so I was just like, I just wrote, ugh, Sarah Paulson. Now, it's bad to say, and I'm skipping my notes just a little tiny bit here, but Sarah Paulson.
Okay, so we skipped over something important.
Okay, yeah. So you're right. I'm sorry.
When she was with her kids, she made the important statement not to take off the blindfolds, or they will die. So make sure to threaten your kids.
That's right. Make sure to threaten your kids. Also,
for someone
very nitpicky. But I was looking at their blindfolds, and I was like, "Okay, they're caked in dirt. They're caked in sweat. They're caked in grime. Their blindfolds are perfectly clean." And again, that always annoys me when it happens in a movie. How can you be falling over in a boat, tripping all over all the dirt? There's a whole bunch of dead bodies, and it's just dirt and grime and shit all over the place. But your blindfold looks like it was bought at the Gap about 10 minutes ago, and still smells like a fucking brand new car. Like
it's a directorial choice in terms of so that you can always see that the blindfold is there.
I guess, but I was like, it was dumb, but whatever. Again, one of those nitpicky things. Also, so I wrote down, it amazes me that Sarah Paulson is so annoying as an actress that she can do all these things to annoy you with her character within 5 minutes. For example, the pulling of the hair, the constantly going on about horses. We get it. Your character is OCD about her business and is a nervous person. We get it. Find a better way to portray these characteristics instead of the same thing 200 times in the span of 5 minutes. And what I mean by that is when you meet Sarah Paulson, she comes walking in. Whenever the camera shifts to be on Sandra Bullock, Sarah Paulson instantly goes to pulling her hair, her own hair. And I'm like, okay, I get it. She does it twice. You're like, okay, she's nervous. She's a nervous person. And then she's like, I've got to see some stud today. And they make the joke, oh, if you weren't into horses, that'd be a weird thing to say. I'm like, oh, that's pretty okay. So her business is horses. And then, you know what? We're all just going to have to start riding horses. This wouldn't happen if we were riding horses. I was like, shut the fuck up about horses. And then she'd be like, oh, this wouldn't happen with horses. And then she starts pulling her hair. I'm like, God, it's only been 5 minutes that you've been on screen, and I'm already sick of this character. So that was, in my opinion, I don't think she's a great actress. Maybe some other people think she's great. I don't think she is, but I was like, that could have been done a bit better.
So now I have ammo. I have input of like next couple of movies. We can just watch Poulsen movies,
Exactly. Let's watch all of American Horror Story in order from start to finish, because I know she's in that. I don't know if she's in all of them, but I know she was in something called Freak Show, and I apologize, I'm not very up to date on the American Horror Story. I don't like Ryan Murphy at all, who's the creator of that show. But she played, I think, a woman from a circus with two heads, I think, was one, but I can't remember. It was
double hair pulling.
Imagine, eh? Do you like horses? I don't know. Do you like horses? What do you think of horses?
All right, Rob, move on from Poulsen.
My Poulsen hatred. So even the doctor is talking. The doctor's saying it. The sister's saying it. They're talking about, you've never met your kid, but once you meet them, you're going to love them. You're going to love them like love has never been loved before.
Because the main character is pregnant.
Yeah, that's right. She's very pregnant. She's due like a month later. She's like fucking 8 months pregnant when you meet her in the movie. And I was like, oh my God, what about those people there? Because there are people out there that are like, oh yeah, I spit out a kid. I don't want to give it up for adoption, or they're not very attached to their kids. And not saying that people aren't attached to their kids, you give them up for adoption. But my point is, I don't think a doctor will be sitting there going, you don't know your kid and you already love them. How can you love someone you haven't met? It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, I get it. You want her to love this kid. It felt like they were trying to force this story, like beat you over the head with it because they weren't going to be able to later. And
I'm willing to bet there's a lot of doctors like that. I know there's, like, if you're professional, you shouldn't do that. And I'm sure there are a lot of doctors that don't. But I'm sure there are still a lot of doctors that let their opinions get involved.
That's a good point, and I can only say from my experience with my wife's 2 pregnancies and with our sons, we never had a doctor like that. Now, we had doctors that would recommend stuff to us, you know what I mean, but none that were lovey-dovey like that. At least that I remember. I don't know, the majority of that time I was, you're not sleeping, you're terrified of everything, everything's going to go wrong. So who can remember what half of the doctors say?
It's true.
So, yeah, I just wrote down, like, was this movie written by the Hallmark Greeting Company? Because all this talk about loving someone you haven't met yet, and this guy left you, and
it's
you
important to the movie.
It is, but it felt like they were trying to just hammer you over the head with it, and only in that space of 5 minutes. So it's almost like they're like, hey, you know what? We have this 5 minutes in the story to pass on this information. Just beat them over the head with it. You know what I mean? Like, don't be subtle about it at all. So then, this part I admit I enjoyed when the anarchy starts happening. It's very Dawn of the Dead-ish. It's very that absolutely terrible movie, The Happening, by M. Night Shyamalan, which is laughably bad if you've never seen it. I strongly recommend it if you want to laugh at a movie that's trying to be scary. It's terrible, but it was great to watch all the chaos and Sarah Paulson decided
killing herself.
Yeah, and that's what people were doing, right? They were killing themselves.
Yep.
This is one thing I really did liked it a lot, is similar to Night of the Living Dead and the George Romero Dead series, which is there were a lot of, I'll pretend they're homages, but they were outright trying to rip it off from Romero's Dead series. They never tell you who the bad guy is. That was the one thing The Walking Dead got really right, and it's one thing that Romero's Dead trilogy gets really right. It was, they never tell you who the bad guy is, just that you've got to be afraid of them.
Leave it up to you.
Yeah, exactly. Because Stephen King,
they kind of do.
I don't think they do. I think they tell you the mechanism at which it arrives. You know what I mean? Like, it applies itself, but they never tell you what it is.
They kind of showed one person's interpretation of what it was.
Oh, true. Yeah, good point. Good point.
And we'll get there because I have notes of that. But
Yeah. But I really
yeah,
like that a lot, that they weren't forcing you over the head that, oh my God, there's been some nuclear outbreak in Czechoslovakia and somehow it got over. Like they said that, hey, people reporting in Russia, it looks like it's somehow gotten over here, but there was no, they never said what it was. And
yeah,
I like that a
they
lot.
said it was mass suicides, but they
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah. So Sarah Paulson gets out of the car, says, "Oh, it's so beautiful," or something, and promptly gets hit by a truck. And
She backs up into it on purpose.
yep. And I was like, I'm not going to lie. I'm happy to see her gone, and I'm happy to see her character go. And I didn't want any pain on her, but I'm glad that she just didn't like cut her wrists or hang herself or some sort of kind of easy way out. I'm kind of glad she got pulverized by a truck. And I know that's terrible to say.
All you were thinking was this movie just got way better.
Oh, you're goddamn right. That's what I was thinking. I was like, because I don't want to see her fucking hanging out with her to the end of the movie and her sister dies, and that's why she's super sad. I'm glad she was gone right out of the gate. So I thought that was good. But this is where the nitpickiness in me started picking up again. And so John Malkovich and his wife are standing on their lawn and they're looking at all these people going fucking bonkers. And there's, I want to say, what, between 50 and 100 people that are on the roads running around. And Sandra Bullock's being knocked over left and right. And again, she's pregnant. But John Malkovich's wife, who we later find out her name is Lydia, she looks out onto the street of all these running hordes of people. And they're like, that lady's pregnant. We got to go help her. And I'm like, how the hell was she able to tell that there's a pregnant lady running down the street in the middle of 100 fucking people? And I get it that the story had to, progress so she would get killed. But I was like,
it is possible.
I don't know. I have reservations on that. So, but I was like, you know what? Fine. Not stupid enough to get me out of the movie. Nothing in this movie. No, that's one thing I'll say too. Nothing was stupid enough that got me disinterested in it. There was a couple things I was like, ugh, kind of like that with, but nothing made me completely disinterested that I'm like, all right, I'm bored of this. I'm turning this off. That's what I've been like with The Stand. While I've been watching this, the trash can man showed up. I had to pause it and walk away for a bit and then, come back and suffer through the trash can man parts and a lot of parts.
I think your problem with that whole thing is that you read the classic book before it. And that always ruins it for movies because you want it to be up to the par of the book, but you can never fit as much.
Also, you get an idea in your head as to who a character is, and then when you see someone that does it completely different, it's either going to be completely annoy you, or you're going to completely fucking love it. Like nobody thought the Joker would be like Heath Ledger, and he did it, and I know there's a few people that did not like his interpretation, but I thought it was just fucking gangbusters. I loved it. And so
I thought it was great.
It's either going to go.
I personally, and this is going to go against most people, I loved the Jared Leto one.
Really? No, I didn't like it. No, and you know what? That's a great, because I guess I had it. So I had, when it comes to Batman, just to get us off track, when it comes to the Joker, I had always had Cesar Romero in my head, the original Joker from the 60s. And the way the Joker acts in the comic book, The Killing Joke, those are always, Killing Joke and Cesar Romero. So when I saw Jack Nicholson in 1989's Batman, I was like, yep, I get this. He's kind of a clown prince. This is kind of goofy. And then I saw, Heath Ledger, and I was like, whoa, I did not expect that at all, but that was really, really good. Jared Leto's interpretation to me was like, I didn't like all the tattoos because the Joker doesn't seem like the type of guy that would sit and get a tattoo. I heard Bob Kane, the creator of Batman, one time talk about the Joker, and they said, how do you try to get into the mind of the Joker? Even though Bob Kane didn't create him, he did a lot of writing for it. And he said, how do you get into the mind of the Joker? And he says, the Joker, he could give you $100 bill or he'd shoot you in the face. And even he doesn't know which one. And I was like, fuck, that's a great way to describe that character. And that's who I saw Romero as, Nicholson as, Ledger as. With Leto's character, I felt like the Joker wouldn't sit to get tattoos put in. You know what I mean? Like, and literally that's where I started with that character. He felt like he was trying to be crazy for the sake of being crazy instead of just being a crazy person.
I see your point.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it was, I've got all sorts of reservations with that movie, but I can totally understand why you would like him, and I get it. But yeah, it was just not for me.
I just like a different take on it.
Yeah, which is totally fair, and yeah, and I mean, that's how you get, that's how you get performances that fucking that you remember forever. You know what I mean? That go in directions you didn't expect them to. But yeah, speaking of great actors, B.D. Wong then shows up in this movie. I fucking love B.D. Wong. I think he's a great actor. He improves everything he's in. And I was super happy to see him show up.
What character was he?
He was, I can't remember his name. I think it's Gary.
Type of character?
So remember there was the two, John Malkovich is staying in the house where the two gay dudes lived in.
Are you talking about Jurassic Park, dude?
No, remember John Malkovich is in that house, and the one of the men who lived there was an architect, but he's dead. His husband, the Asian guy, that was B.D. Wong.
Yeah, that's the guy from Jurassic Park. He's
from Jurassic Park. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought you said, "Are you sure you're not watching Jurassic Park?"
No. No, he's a great actor. Yeah, I completely agree.
He was in a show in the early 90s, I believe, called Oz. It was HBO's first show. It's spectacularly good, and he's so good at it. He plays a prison chaplain, and he's great. But yeah, outside of that, B.D. Wong, anything he's in, he improves. So I was really happy to see him. So then we get to the point where, and this is where the similarities to Night of the Living Dead become impossible not to notice. So for anybody that doesn't know, and I'm sure anybody who listens to a movie podcast knows a lot about Night of the Living Dead. And Night of the Living Dead, what happens is all these people somehow, all by their own circumstances, come to meet in a house, and they're all holed up together in a house that is not theirs.
We collect our cast.
Yeah, exactly. The cast collection, right? And inside, once they're all inside the house, everybody is barking orders at each other. It's all mass hysteria until they can calm down and they can take collections. All right, who's going to be in charge? One person's got to be the one that's going to turn on us. Another person's got to be the crazy person. And they all start taking stock of who all these different characters are. That's exactly what begins to happen in this scene. As soon as everybody is inside that house, other people get let in. They all start taking stock of, all right, who's in charge, who's going to be the crazy one, who's going to be the old miserly prick, that's going to be John Malkovich, and who's going to be the the guy in charge, that's the black dude, Dan? Oh shit, I forgot his name. Tom, I think.
Tom, yeah. Like he comes in later, doesn't he? Or is he there?
A little bit later, yeah. But I mean, that's just what I felt. I was like, George Romero wrote the blueprint for this movie 60 years ago, and I'm glad to see that blueprint still works. It's still something that a lot of people use. And I'm sure Romero wasn't the first guy to come up with it, but a whole bunch of people being holed up in a house when something insane is going on outside, that's definitely a George Romero.
And they all go into talking about what is going on, like they have no clue, and then the internet geek / supermarket employee knows everything.
Yep, but it's all for his book that he's writing. That guy was a little. They should have just had his name be Exposition instead of Charlie. But I was
he was great, and I wish there was more of him in this movie.
He had to be. He was good because he's the guy that delivers the exposition, right? Mm-hmm. And he delivered it fantastically. But yeah, his ending I kind of didn't agree with. But
I was very disappointed to see him die. But we'll get to that.
Also, you'll notice that everybody is super worried about Sandra Bullock being pregnant. My God, she's pregnant. We have to rescue her. Pregnant. As soon as she's inside the door, no one worries anymore. There's like, okay, great. She's inside. Now she doesn't exist. Let's all argue amongst ourselves. Everyone forgot she was pregnant, which I thought was quite comical.
In that situation, you're going to get one of two ways. You're going to get more anarchy because people are trying to become the dominant, or you're going to get a bunch of people who are very quiet until a dominant arises.
It was funny how everybody, like if it was a single character that was, she's pregnant, and that character Lydia, meets her end, that's fine. But everybody was like, she's pregnant, we have to let her in, she's pregnant, we have to let her in. And then she comes in, and then same with the other girl that shows up, the other pregnant lady that shows up, whose name I've totally forgotten, Olympia was her name. she shows up, and they're
Well,
like,
you're way ahead.
But my point is, they worry about the state of these characters, and then as soon as they come in, they're like, oh, okay, now they're in the house, it's fine, we don't need to worry anymore. Now, this house, how convenient is it that they broke into a house that looks like it was designed and built by Bill Gates? Because they have cameras on every part of their house. They have a freezer that is big enough to fit a fucking bird cage in. Like, this house is a state-of-the-art house.
That thing was a wine freezer or something.
It was, yeah, it was. But I was like, how lucky are they to have fucking broken into this house? You know what I mean? Like, that's.
I want to know what his job was.
Well, the one was an architect, yeah, and I'm not sure what his job was, but I was just like, yeah, that's hitting, that's striking gold. You know what I mean? That's lucky. And this is something. It's funny. This next thing I wrote down. So, if you remember, John Malkovich said they said it indirectly. It was discussed by other characters, but John Malkovich was suing B.D. Wong and his husband because B.D. Wong's husband was an architect, and the changes that he was going to do to the house, John Malkovich said they were going to look fucking disgusting. It was going to be all glass and shit. I don't want to see inside their house. It was going to look idiotic. So I sued them so they wouldn't make the change.
Yeah.
Now, you could Google this, look up the Big Blue House in Brampton. In Brampton, not far, I'd say probably about 2 minutes walk from where I used to live, there was a guy that bought a house. He totally demolished the house that was there, and he built a huge, and it wasn't finished yet, but it was the like plywood outline, basically the formation of a house, and it was all bright blue. All of the wood was bright blue, and it became referred to as the Blue House in Brampton. And it was a humongous fucking eyesore. And there was lots of fighting from his neighbors, lots of fighting from the government, from zoning commissions, and there was lots of fights back and forth. And eventually they made him tear it down.
Because there are certain rules in every neighborhood where you have to meet certain criteria.
But there's also being an eyesore. And according to this guy, in the Blue House of Brampton, he was everything was legal. Everything he had done was set up was legal, but the house was a fucking eyesore. That's why when John Malkovich was like, look, it was going to look terrible, and I didn't want to have to look at that all day. I totally saw where he was coming from. So when they were trying to set him up as a bad character and say, this jerk doesn't want this guy to, live his architectural dream, I'm like, nope, I side with John Malkovich because I've been on the other side of someone that has to walk by a big fucking eyesore of a house.
I side on the other side because I don't give a crap what your house looks like as long as you're quiet.
And I think that's what they were voting. Most people would, and they were assuming most people would. But like I said, they didn't know that there would be some people that had not lived beside. I certainly didn't live beside it, but lived near this big blue fucking eyesore that they would have to see and totally understand that. Yeah, that's not cool if someone does something like that. My next point is again nitpicky. I noticed that Sandra Bullock's top changed. And then I noticed that people, as the story progressed, they weren't in this house for a long amount of time, but the story progressed to where they were changing clothes. And I was like, okay, I'm willing to bet in a home that's owned by two gay men, they would not have clothes. Excuse me. They would not have clothes for a very muscular, maybe 6'2" black guy. They would not have clothes for John Malkovich. They would not have clothes for that rather larger pregnant lady, that old lady, that tattooed guy. Like all these people, I'm like, where the fuck are they getting any of these clothes? Because these two gay dudes, unless they've got a huge fucking wardrobe of clothes that they're never going to wear, how the hell are these clothes there?
I don't judge people.
It's like, you know what? Sometimes I do want to dress up as a 6'2" muscular black man, and you just need to be okay with that.
You never know.
So this is came to the part where I was genuinely. This is pretty spooky. The part where they get in the car. So they cover the car. They spray paint.
Okay, so first of all, you completely missed the security cam. You spoke of security cams,
okay, yeah.
But they tried the theory that what if you could look outside via a security cam because you're not looking with your eyes, you're just being translated the information.
Yeah.
So they tried that, and that was the end of BD Wong, right?
Yep. He bashes in his own head, which was cool, and I like that. It's like one more way. And I think the whole point of that was to like, hey, look, dude, you can't look. You know what I mean? Like this is no rules of no gremlin rules where you can eat after midnight, but it's always after midnight somewhere, and don't get them wet. Don't put light on them, especially not sunlight. Like they weren't going to try to do any rules like that. I was like, hey, don't look. Just keep your fucking eyes on the ground.
How stupid was it that they're not leaving someone in there to like? You could just be blindfolded, make sure he doesn't kill himself.
Yep. Yeah. I think again, maybe I'm totally fucking wrong, but I saw that as all they're trying to do is say, okay, BD Wong's character effectively has worn out his usefulness. Like they don't need that character anymore.
How do we get rid of him?
It costs too much. He's got to go back in the Jurassic World cast. And finish up that third movie. But
Dominion, I think.
All that's right, yeah, Dominion, and everybody's coming back. That's going to be pretty fucking.
That's
cool
going to be awesome.
Back again, but yeah, that's what I think that whole port was, just to show you, like, hey, dude, you absolutely under no circumstances can look. But the scene where they spray paint the car, they cover all the cameras, like the cams around the car, and then they use the GPS to just navigate.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, I love that's when they showed like the wind, whatever this thing is, the wind was kind of trying to circle the car to try to find a way to get in or to be seen. That was great. Really, really enjoyed that part. I was like, this is genuinely spooky. But I love how they would have it was digital, and you could tell it was digital, but the leaves would scatter a little bit to show you the direction the wind was moving in, made the wind very kind of foreboding and very evil, and really, really liked that part.
It really brought you back to The Happening again.
Yeah, right, exactly. Fuck, The Happening. Especially when he starts talking to the fucking plastic plant, that part was just spellbindingly terrifying. But so they get to this they get to this grocery store, and then Charlie bites the dust. Yeah, and this part,
it's fish fingers, dude.
Fish fingers.
Charlie's buddy Fish Fingers tries to get into the supermarket, and Charlie saves everyone by running into Fish Fingers and letting the door close.
But okay, so if you remember this scene, Sandra Bullock looks at some birds that are in a cage in the middle of a fucking grocery store, which makes no sense, but who cares? So she's talking to these birds, and the birds are kind of doing their thing, and she's talking to the birds, and for some reason she decides, let's take the birds. I didn't get why she decided to take the birds, and then the fish finger scene. What's that?
She's a mom. She wants to take care of them.
She wants birds for her kids, but then the fish finger scene happens, and I was like, you know what? It would have made a shit ton more sense if she was walking all around. The fish finger scene starts, and then the birds start freaking the fuck out. And then Sandra Bullock listens and goes, hey, you know what? Those birds are losing their fucking minds. And now that the problem is gone, you know what I mean? Charlie took care of Fish Fingers and knocked him out that door. The birds have calmed down. To me, I'm like, that seems like a smarter progression of her understanding that the birds are, what's going to lead us to safety here. So I just thought that was an opportunity. Like, I felt like that was fucking backwards.
I missed the opportunity.
Yeah. And then I did make the joke. So they get back to the house.
Well, first, the 24 hours on the river. Like one thing we haven't talked about was the side events that are happening, and goes back to the past, goes to the future type thing. And the future is, I guess, current, And they're saying they're going 6 hours on the river, 14 hours on the river. So first it was 6 hours on the river. I wrote down, hopefully, well, first it was tell your kids not to take off the blindfolds or they'll die. That was the first scene on the river.
Yep.
And then they went 6 hours on the river. Hopefully there's no waterfall. That was my take on it. So I'm just wondering, like, really? You're going this far on the river? There's no waterfall? Anyway, we go 14 hours on the river. And stranger danger. We get Michael Moore, which wasn't really Michael Moore, but dead ringer for Michael Moore.
Look at the Republicans; they're better than we are.
We'll show you the way, right? So he's putting out that information where there are people out there that are trying to unmask you so that you do see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then we get to this point where we're 24 hours on the river and they bump into a truck. One of the kids falls into the river. I wrote cold kid. She hears wind chimes, goes to shore, finds a big house, grabs a bunch of stuff. And then Evil follows and starts chasing her. I call it Evil at this point.
Right.
Kid worries, leaves the boat tied to the longest rope ever, looking for her mom. Her character, by the way, is named Mallory, the mom.
Oh, that's right, Mallory.
Sandra Bullock. They run into floating the kid runs into floating leaves and is pulled back to the boat by Mallory, this huge long line that seems like it's 5 feet. And my moral of the story for this next part is yelling at kids works.
That's right. It absolutely
does. He berates the kid.
Now,
for her safety.
My problem with that is, so remember, Mallory's not looking. She's too busy, coming back from the house doing the Bird Box Challenge. And then she sees this rope.
Challenge. I love it.
She sees this rope laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Now, I thought she's not allowed to see. She's tripping over fucking everything else. But then she's like, I'm going to yank on this fucking rope and see what's at the end of it. That was a part that I was like, how the fuck did she know that the little girl was at the end of the fucking rope? And I was like, I feel like that part was, you know what? Forget about that. Nobody will think about that as long as she pulls her back and she starts screaming at her, never get out of the boat, never get out of the fucking boat. Like, how come nobody's talking about how the fuck did she know that kid was at the end of the fucking rope?
So the next part, so that's the end of the river thing for now. Go on. Your turn.
So this next part, again, it's about close to 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting in my little movie room by myself. They meet this crazy dude, and don't worry, I'll come back to that. There's a point. This guy comes into the house that says that he was being chased by a bunch of crazy people, and then, long story short, it becomes discovered that he is one of the crazy people that's trying to get everybody to look at whatever this monster is. And
well, first of all, John Malkovich tries to take control.
Right. Okay, that's
moment.
Right. Yeah, and that
he tries to kick out the new guy.
That was a throwback to Night of the Living Dead when the guy that was in the basement tried to take everything away from Ben, the black dude that was running stuff upstairs.
But luckily, the old lady who's hardly in this movie throws the vase on him.
And fucking bashes him right over the head. That was good.
And then I wrote capital E, lowercase e. I have no idea what that means.
Well, so this crazy dude comes to the house, or they don't know he's crazy. And then, like you were alluding to before, he starts putting out all these pictures that he's drawn. They look like charcoal drawings of some insane monster, like a Cthulhu type of fucking monster. And
what's happening at the same time?
Oh, that's right. Both of the babies are being born.
Yeah, dual labor.
Yeah, dual labor.
How is that going to happen? Does labor work like periods?
Right. I think they all started to get into cycles. So your kid will start growing faster to fucking compete with her kid. It turns into the Olympics.
They were off by like a month or two.
Yeah, it was like a month fucking difference.
But that can happen.
Yeah, exactly. I guess. Sure. I'm surprised the old lady didn't start fucking giving birth, but that's a whole other thing. But so
he sets out those pictures, like you said, and it's basically my idea is that they're pictures that he drew because he starts trying another one, right?
Yep.
And they're his, I guess his iteration of what he sees.
Yeah, that's what he sees the monster as.
But it could also be what everyone sees. We don't know.
Exactly. And that for that part, I was like, okay, he's one of the crazy guys. But so he tries to kill John Malkovich. He goes upstairs. He kills Olympia, the one mother.
Technically, she killed herself.
Good point. Yeah, she jumped out the window. He killed the old lady by getting her to stab herself in the neck with a pair of scissors. And then he gets, I can't remember the specifics of this part, but I do remember he gets into a fight with John Malkovich, right? Like John Malkovich tries to shoot him or something. And he turns around and he stabs John Malkovich like right below the neck, like in the heart.
Yeah, right in the chest.
So I'm in my little movie room, again, 7 o'clock in the morning by myself. And I'm watching this movie, and I just laughed to myself. I said out loud, I went, guess that guy's not going to be John Malkovich. I'm like, I didn't say that for anybody. I just said it to myself.
And next week, I'm going to have another host.
That guy's not being John Malkovich. And I was like, yeah, that was a pretty fucking pathetic joke. And I wrote it down in my notes. I'm like, got to bring that up. So this next part, this is where the story's like, okay, the main part of our story is done. Now we've just got to speed to the fucking ending.
Well, let's point out that it's Tom, right?
Tom, the black dude.
Tom saves the day.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yep. It was a big moment of like, who's going to get the gun first? And Tom ended up getting the gun and shooting that guy.
Yeah, yeah. So he's, and I think Bob or Ben or something was that guy's name.
And that leaves us with a way smaller cast. Because, exactly. By the way, 2 of the other characters that were involved ended up having sex with each other and then took the car and left.
Still in the car. And
no point to those characters at all.
And it's funny. I think those 2, they're alluded to, or they're like, I think they had like 3 lines of dialogue. I was like, those guys will be gone fucking soon, because the one guy he says is like, man, we're fucked. The tattooed guy. I'm like, yeah, that guy's got to disappear.
Was he Machine Gun Kelly?
I don't know. I don't have
because
a clue.
all I wrote was MGK is a douche.
Oh yeah, maybe, I don't know. And then yeah, yoga girl that does yoga. But so without getting sidetracked, this next part got a little confusing because it's supposed to be 5 years has passed, right? And in these 5 years, is it that, and I think this is the point, because I just wrote it down and then I didn't go back and double check this again later, but is it just that Sandra Bullock and Tom and the kids have been bird boxing around the whole area and taking supplies from people? From houses? Okay. And then I was like, well, in the 5 years that have passed.
And it's still before the river.
Correct. In the 5 years that have passed, Sandra Bullock's hair has grown 3 times its original length. They've got a bunch of supplies from different places. These kids have grown to be 5 years of age now, but the black dude's fucking beard has not changed a lick since we saw him in the original time he showed up in the fucking movie. I'm like, come on, dude. I'm willing to bet they broke into one house. He's like, oh shit, they have one of those male trimmers. Now I can fucking trim myself.
Why not?
That's kind of dumb.
It's battery operated.
Also, are they teaching these kids to read, or
I'm like, guessing what are they did? They seem like the types that would.
But where they get like books and shit like that, like
you scavenge.
I guess I don't know. I was like, that's.
You start reading magazines.
But it was starting to fall apart. Yeah, exactly. Raise your kid on fucking Cosmo. But I was like, okay, the third act of this movie starting to fall apart. They've got to speed to the ending, and so that's effectively what they do. They try to speed to the ending. And so they go on this boat. They hit some rapids.
First, I'm gonna catch you again. They're 5 years in the house, training their children, generally speaking.
Yeah, I know.
They were doing this rock thing where they bang rocks together, and depending on the sound you hear back is what's close to you. Anyway, that's for later. And they didn't even bother to go back to the rock thing ever again. They should have, but they could have. Anyway, Rick, this guy named Rick, goes on the radio on a CB or something and is calling out for anybody who might be alive, and then tells Sandra Bullock and Tom that there's a compound and to go down the river, and once you get to the bottom of the river, follow the birds.
And there's lots of rapids. He talks about rapids, so someone will have to look during the rapids.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, sure. And again, it felt like they're speeding towards the ending. So I'm like, all right, let's get to the ending here. So they go in this boat downstream. Long story short, just for the rapids part, she's like, one of us is going to have to look out the rapids. One of us is effectively going to have to sacrifice themselves And then she just says, you know what? Fuck it. Nobody's looking out of the rapids. We'll just fucking hope for the best.
You completely missed Tom.
What did I miss? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Tom gets killed. Well, this is this character that's been in the movie.
This is how much it matters to you.
That's how quick I am to speed to the ending of this.
So let me go over that part. Okay, so they find a house to scavenge while they're walking. I don't even know. But they find Pop-Tarts, which is important.
Forgot about the Pop-Tarts.
Strawberry Pop-Tarts. And then they go on to give it to the kids and tell them this is what strawberry tastes like. If you've ever had a Pop-Tart, they don't taste like anything they're supposed to.
You could say this is what, something that sat on a shelf for 5 years and still has a bit of taste. This is what this fucking tastes like. This is called diarrhea in 4 minutes because of this stale-ass Pop-Tart.
This is the end of the movie because you just died of...
Now you have malaria.
Also, we get into the part where Tom brings up to Sandra Bullock that boy and girl still won't name these kids.
I don't get that. Like, what the fuck did that mean? Like, she wasn't attached to them?
She does. Yeah, she didn't want the end all be all attachment. So if anything were to happen to them, her thought was like, if I didn't name them, it wouldn't be as important to me if they died.
Okay. All right. Maybe.
But that's what they were trying to get across, and it comes back at the end of the movie. So yeah, the mentally ill come while they're in a house, and they Tom says, "Go on without me. I will distract them." He goes out of the house and talks to them, but he has a blindfold on, and they don't. That's one thing this movie keeps bringing up, is like the mentally ill are able to see because they already have something malfunctioning in their brain.
And I think it was that, and maybe I totally got this fucking wrong, but they want to share whatever this fucking thing is, so it doesn't cause them to kill themselves because they want everybody to look at it. You know what I mean? So because they want everybody to look at it, it's like, okay, I'm not going to kill you because you want to preach the faith or whatever the fuck you want to call it. You want to get people into my cause.
Yeah, it's almost as if like whatever is like scientifically happening to your brain to make you want to kill yourself, like see your worst nightmares or something. To them, when it's hitting them chemically, it's hitting like their brain's reacting in a different way, just like you said, and it's telling them, yeah, this is the best thing ever. You have to see this.
Exactly. It's like all these people that are trying to get you to watch Freaks and Geeks, but you're like, dude, I don't want to watch that fucking show.
That is an amazing show.
You want to watch it.
Anyway, he goes to the house with a shotgun. They go, oh, the kids and the girl is going down this way, and he goes, oh shit, and starts shooting people. That was awesome, by the way.
He just fucking starts firing blindly. That was great.
When he shot the girl and she blasted backwards, that was the best shot of the movie.
Yeah, the random firing and when Sandra Bullock before with the guys in the water, when Michael Moore's attacking her in the water, and she's just ha 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 with the fucking sword just hacking thin air. I was having a ball. I thought that was great.
So Tom kills them all pretty much.
Yep.
Except for one, and one's about to go after Sandra Bullock and the kids, and then he has to take off his blindfold or something, and then he took off his blindfold earlier and did all this stuff, and then while the monsters or the wind is coming up after him, he goes to kill the other guy, but then he gets infected or whatever it is and kills himself.
He's a smoke monster. And then shoots himself in the head.
Yep.
So that's the end of Tom. And then
we're 42 hours on the river.
Yeah, exactly. So now they're going past the rapid. She decides, nah, you know what? Fuck it. Just stay under the blanket. We'll get past the rapids. They get past the rapids. They arrive on the edge of the clearing, I guess, to where they think they've got to go. They've got past the rapids. Now they're going to get to Rick's.
Did you seriously just go right past the rapids?
Well, I mean,
That was a huge point of the movie.
I don't know what happened in the rapids.
That was a clincher.
I was like, just get past these rapids and get to
The key
fucking
point
end.
of the rapids, well, first of all, was that she can't choose. Mallory was going to choose the kid that wasn't hers to look for her, because that was the big thing where she knew that this moment would come, and then that was what she would choose. It was foreshadowed often,
Right.
but then at that point when it came time, she decided, I can't do it. I love them both.
You didn't feel like that was coming all along?
Oh, it was definitely coming all along.
That's why, to me, it had like no fucking real weight, because I'm like, well, she's not gonna. I figure she would sacrifice herself, and then somehow she wouldn't actually get killed, type of thing.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought there would be some kind of angle to that, like she would watch, and then maybe she would be the only one immune.
Right, but then she just doesn't fucking look.
Just doesn't look. We'll see what happens.
But
so they tip over.
Yep.
And magically they find themselves.
With fucking, and none of their blindfolds come off. That's important too.
And neither of the kids are dead.
Yep. And imagine how cold this fucking lake is, right?
Oh my
goodness. They are freezing cold. Now, this is, again, had another issue with this, that I dare you to even tell me I'm fucking wrong with this. So, where are the birds?
Challenge.
So, they've got these birds that they're keeping in a box. Now, I'm assuming that's why the fucking movie's called Bird Box, because they've got these fucking birds in a box. The little girl is wearing them around her neck, like kind of like an Indiana, like the way that Indiana Jones would keep a satchel. That's how she's holding on to these fucking birds.
Put in a box.
The little girl wipes out of the boat. She's, Mallory, where am I? Mallory. Now, I don't know how much time you spent with birds, but my understanding of birds is they can't breathe underwater.
No.
So these birds are underwater for like 5 or 6 straight minutes.
Maybe they were floating.
The little girl gets out and she's like, shakes herself off like a fucking penguin, because apparently it's not super cold in this water. And I'm like, okay, those birds are dead. Like, this is going to be a thing. They can't trust their own birds because their birds are dead, so they're going to have to trust other birds. But no, these birds are fucking still alive. I'm like, how the fuck are these birds still alive? These birds have been drowned how many goddamn times?
These are magic birds.
So, and also I pointed out, I was thinking in my head, like, my God, dude, Star Wars has to permeate every part of my fucking thinking. So I was like, oh, look, they're wandering around Endor, because it's a huge fucking forest where they're hearing all these whispers. And I'm like, oh, the Ewoks are whispering to them, because she keeps on hearing fuck her sister and Tom and take off your blindfold. Look at me, take off your blindfold.
Yeah, this is part of the monster, whatever it does. It seems to whisper people that you know.
I was thinking maybe because they're getting close to, and I still don't understand how the ending, how this place is protected by it, but whatever, it's a whole other thing. As it's getting close to where they want to arrive, maybe that's where it's at its strongest. That was how I made up in my own head, like, oh, okay, that's why it's whispering to everyone, because
I'm sure they're surrounded.
Yeah, exactly. But that whole commune is completely surrounded. So
basically, what happens during this moment is, and I'm going to read my notes. Mallory falls down. The kids can't find her, and the monsters trick them to take the blindfolds off.
To lose.
Mallory gets up, tracks them down. Begs them to come see her, and then they get chased to the compound.
Yep, exactly. And so their bird box.
It's a powerful moment.
I don't know. I never, for a minute, thought Sandra Bullock or the kids were in any danger, in danger of actually dying in the story. You know what I mean? But so their bird box in the bay.
Even when the little girl is just about to take off the blindfold.
I didn't. No. And I was like, because that's too dark to be right at the end. I'm looking at how much time we got left. We've only got like 10 minutes left. I'm like, there's no way they'll do something that dark at the end. This isn't fucking Brazil. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way they're going to go that dark at the end of the movie. Maybe I would have been wonderfully surprised to be wrong. That would have been great. But no, I didn't feel that anything was going to happen to them.
I really thought at some point either the boat or or the forest that they were going to kill off the girl.
Oh, no, not me. But so they eventually get to the commune, and they meet Rick, and I'm not happy with the ending, but it's not terribly stupid either. It just was kind of bit of a kind of a wet fart of an ending, where what happens is Rick runs, I guess, a school for the blind, and in this school for the blind, there's a bunch of sighted people, and there's a bunch of blind people, of course, because it's a school for the blind.
Well, that's because he's called people to come to the place.
Correct, exactly. The only so I was like, all right, I'll buy all of this so far. The only thing I had a bit of trouble. Okay, I don't know why this would happen. Is so Rick or one of Rick's assistants, people that work at the place, they go out to like a garden area. There's grass and kids are running around and people are happy. There's a whole bunch of birds up on the top. And he says the birds warn the sighted people when things are coming, so they know when to look down. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But why has all this foliage grown on top of this little like area they're in, this with the little park area? And then I was like, is this little park area a literal fucking bird box that they're like a bird cage they're going to live inside of now?
That's basically what they're saying, yeah.
Okay, and then I was like, oh, okay, so now she's like, hey, we won't die, but now we're going to live in a bird cage the rest of our lives. Pretty much. By the way, boy, here's your name. Girl, here's your name. Go and play. Everything's fine now. We haven't watched a whole bunch of people die. We're not soaking wet from the water that we were just in. Everything's great. And this is
by the way, you stink. Here's some new clothes.
My favorite though is, so this is where I was like, these birds are dead, because this is the first time we hear hide nor hair of these fucking birds that the little girl's been carrying around her neck. They open it up and these CG birds are looking around and then they fucking fly up into the sky. I was like, oh, come on, man. You couldn't kill those fucking birds off.
They're like, what the fuck happened?
we
should have had like one dead bird in there.
Right? They're cannibalizing that fucking bird. And that's how you end your movie. The kid's like, oh my God. And sort of fly off into the sky.
It's not the monsters you should be scared of. It's the bird box.
It's the fucking bird box. And now you're trapped in one. But no, so then the movie ends. Sandra Bullock gives them both names. And then everybody's, I guess, going to be happy moving forward, hanging out with their blind friends.
So their names ended up being Olympia and Tom.
Tom after her black boyfriend, and Olympia named after her mom, the lady who threw herself out a window.
Yeah, because the girl is not Sandra Bullock's.
See, I thought she would name the daughter after her sister, but I guess that'd be kind of a dick move when it isn't even your kid. You're like,
yeah, let's erase the mother.
I'll make my sister's name your middle name.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it was not terrible. I wouldn't even put it at terrible. It was better than adequate. You know what I mean? I think like 64, 70% out of 100. That to me points where this was mainly. I would have given it like a solid 5 if it was not for that car scene where the wind was kind of going around it. I thought that was just great. It was really intelligent filmmaking. It was well acted. It was good. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, I'm glad I finally watched it. I still don't get what the fuck the Bird Box Challenge was all about, even after now. Was the Bird Box Challenge walk around with a blindfold on?
I don't know what challenge you're talking about. Like the general.
There was the Bird Box Challenge. Remember, it was all over fucking Instagram and Twitter and shit. People were doing the Bird Box Challenge.
They were I can only guess because I can't remember that they were just covering their eyes and trying to do shit.
Okay, yeah. Well, somehow it became a Twitter thing where people were doing Bird Box challenges.
People at home, please don't put birds in a box and
throw them in a river.
Walk around and act like you're Sandra Bullock. It's just weird.
Right, and don't throw them in the river. Don't drown them, and then think they'll survive after 6 hours underwater.
They're new. They were affected by. Why aren't animals affected by this thing? Can I just say that there was no squirrels, no raccoons, no deer. Like you could have had a deer come by with his eyes all messed up and then run into a tree or something,
or start like fucking gouging into another one. But yeah, it was. What was also kind of stupid too was we see 100 people all over the road, right? And they're getting shot, they're getting burned, and they're killing themselves and whatnot. But when they take that car out, the GPS, I got to cover all the windows, they run over like 2 people. And I'm like, dude, with the fucking volume of people I saw out there before, you would be like, it would be more human beings you're crunching over and less fucking road. All right. So, yep, Bird Box was all right, better than I expected it to be. What is our movie for next week?
Oh, by the way, I agree with you 70% for.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, in this case, you were not the audience. We were both both a bit better than the critics.
Yeah. Basically, what we're going to do, we're going to postpone Trial of the Chicago 7 to we're going into episode 4, right? This is 3.
It's just 3.
So episode 4 will be Trial of the Chicago 7, along with a new movie on Netflix called Below Zero, which looks. Did you see the trailer yet?
I did watch it. Yep.
It looks very interesting, and I'm gonna bet $100 right now. Not really. That you're going to be so nitpicky on this.
And so one thing people should know, I sent you a message saying, okay, I'm sitting down to watch Bird Box. If I go into a flurry of fucking, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is going on? You'll know what I'm going to sound like when I'm actually talking about the movie. But I was relatively quiet, and since I was quiet, that meant that you knew it was going to be okay. So with Below Zero, you'll know if I start fucking like sending the emails like, why am I watching this? This is bullshit. You'll know.
And I've already told Rob that he's not to talk to me about these things.
Yep, that's right. That's against the rules.
It's against the rules of the podcast.
So I'll be turning to my wife going, can you believe this bullshit? She'll be like, I'm not watching this fucking movie. I don't care why you're telling me all about it.
She's like, well, just go talk to Phil.
Right? Go watch your Bird Box again.
So yes, Below Zero and Trial of the Chicago 7. You will love Trial of the Chicago 7. It's put together.
That I will.
But Below Zero is like I haven't watched it. It just came out yesterday or 2 days ago, and I'm looking forward to it because it looks very interesting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll say the premise for everyone. The premise of Below Zero is, from what I understood from the trailer, is it's a bus that transports criminals in separate cells in the bus. So it's like a tour bus almost that's been converted for that purpose. And for some reason, they take over the bus, and the main character, who's a guard, is the only one left that has to try to get the bus back and get these guys to stop.
People were, and you know what? Oh, God damn it. I didn't get an email address again. People, if you're going to send us messages, send them on Reddit or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And I'd love to hear other people's interpretations of what we thought about Bird Box.
Yeah.
And if people have their own opinions of Below Zero, I'd love to hear that compared to what you and I come up with it. Because if there's one thing I love, man, it's, and don't let my Reddit persona fool you. I love having discussions with people who disagree with me. I think that's where you get your best ideas. That's where you get the shit that inspires you, is by, discussing something you both have different ideas on, and then coming to the ultimate conclusion that's like, holy shit, here's the best of what we both brought into it. So I'd love to hear. That's why I love discussing movies like this with Phil, because hearing someone else's opinion, hearing someone challenge you about what you thought of something is great.
Yeah, post your comment anywhere you pretty much came across this. And there's many ways to post comments: YouTube, Reddit, Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere. Go for it.
The only thing I will say is Phil is completely wrong. Those goddamn birds were underwater for 6 minutes. They are dead. There is no chance in hell that those birds would have ever survived.
Rob looked it up, so
yeah, that's right. I did a Google search for how long can birds survive underwater, and now the FBI is knocking on my door.
That and the post you made about the cardboard box. That's just can't.
Exactly.
They're not going to let you get away with that.
We're going to find dead garbage men burned or drowned in this guy's fucking recycling next week. But all right, so for, what do we call it again? Netflix Weekly. I keep on forgetting the name because we changed it. I'll get it by the 4th time, don't worry. For Netflix Weekly, I have been Rob.
I'm Phil.
And that's the end. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
La 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 la. Music's going to end.